Chapter 1, Dawn of Divinity. In the time before time, when the earth was young and the heavens were a tapestry of twinkling mysteries, the gods and goddesses of ancient Egypt reigned supreme. Among them was Hathor, the celestial cow, whose eyes glistened with the light of 1,000 suns. She was the embodiment of love, beauty, and music, and her presence brought joy to the hearts of gods and mortals alike. Hathor's domain was vast, stretching across the sky and into the fertile lands below. She was the daughter of Ra, the sun god, and her connection to him was evident in the sun disk that rested between her graceful cow horns. Each morning, as Ra's golden chariot rose into the sky, Hathor's own luminescence would mingle with the dawn, painting the world in hues of radiant gold and soft rose. The first chapter of our tale begins on such a morning, as the first light of dawn crept across the land of Egypt. The Nile, a silvery serpent in the pre-dawn light, reflected the burgeoning light as if it too were paying homage to the goddess. The air was filled with the sweet scent of lotus flowers, and a gentle breeze carried the distant sound of sistrums and lyres, instruments dedicated to Hathor, whose melodies were said to be the whispers of the goddess herself. In the great temple of Dendera, the high priestess, Neferet, prepared for the day's ceremonies. The temple was a marvel, with towering columns and walls adorned with intricate hieroglyphs that told the stories of the gods. At its heart was the sanctuary of Hathor, a sacred chamber where the goddess was believed to dwell on earth. Neferet, draped in fine linens and adorned with gold, moved with purpose, her steps echoing softly on the cool stone floor. As the first rays of sunlight pierced the temple's entrance, they illuminated the inner sanctum, revealing the statue of Hathor. The goddess was carved from black basalt, her features both serene and powerful. Upon her head sat the sun disk, cradled by her horns, a testament to her divine heritage and her role as the Eye of Ra. Neferet approached the statue with reverence, her arms raised in the ancient gesture of adoration. She began to chant the hymns of awakening, her voice rising and falling in a melody that seemed to resonate with the very walls of the temple. The other priests and priestesses joined in, their voices harmonizing with Neferet's, creating a symphony of worship that would awaken the goddess from her slumber. As the chant reached its crescendo, a remarkable thing occurred. The sun disk atop the statue began to glow, as if responding to the devotion of Hathor's followers. The light grew brighter, casting a warm, golden aura throughout the chamber. It was said that at this moment, the goddess herself would descend from the heavens, her spirit infusing the statue with her divine presence. The people of Egypt, who had gathered outside the temple, watched in awe as the light spilled from the doorway, bathing them in its radiance. They knew that Hathor, the goddess of love, beauty, and music, had once again graced the world with her benevolence. And as the celebrations commenced, with music and dance filling the air, it was clear that this day, like all others touched by the goddess, would be a day of joy and wonder. Thus begins our story of Hathor, the Dawn of Divinity, whose love knew no bounds and whose beauty illuminated the world. Chapter 2, The Celestial Cow. In the days that followed the radiant dawn, the land of Egypt flourished under the watchful gaze of Hathor. The people rejoiced in her blessings, for she was not only the goddess of love and beauty, but also a protector of women and a guardian of fertility. Her benevolence knew no limits, and her compassion was as boundless as the river Nile itself. The second chapter of our tale unfolds beneath a sky of sapphire, where Hathor, in her celestial form as the great cow, Mayet Weret, traversed the heavens. Her hide was the color of the night, dappled with stars, and her eyes shone with the wisdom of the ages. It was said that the Milky Way was but the milk that flowed from her udders, a river of life-giving sustenance that nourished the universe. On this particular day, Hathor's gaze fell upon a barren stretch of land near the banks of the Nile. The soil was parched, and the crops that once grew there were now but withered husks. The people of the land, once vibrant and full of hope, were now disheartened, their spirits as dry as the earth beneath their feet. Moved by their plight, Hathor descended from the heavens, her form shifting and changing as she neared the ground. By the time she reached the earth, she had taken on her human aspect, the familiar and beloved visage of the goddess with cow horns and sun disk. The people gathered around her, their eyes wide with wonder and reverence. Hathor spoke to them with a voice that was like the gentle rustling of papyrus reeds. "Fear not, my children, for I have seen your suffering. I shall bring forth the waters of life and restore your land to its former glory." With a graceful sweep of her arm, Hathor summoned the clouds above, and they darkened with the promise of rain. A soft rumble echoed across the sky, and soon droplets of water began to fall, each one a blessing from the goddess. The rain grew in strength, a deluge that quenched the thirsty earth and filled the river to its brim. The people rejoiced, singing praises to Hathor, as the land turned green once more. Flowers bloomed with renewed vigor, and the air was filled with the fragrance of fresh growth. The goddess had not only restored their land, but had also rekindled the flame of hope within their hearts. As the day turned to evening and the sun dipped below the horizon, Hathor's task was complete. She knew that her presence had reawakened the cycle of life in this small corner of Egypt. With a final, loving glance at her people, she transformed once again into the celestial cow and ascended to the heavens. The people watched as she rose, her form outlined against the twilight sky. They knew that Hathor, the celestial cow, would always watch over them, her love as eternal as the stars that adorned her heavenly hide. And as the night enveloped the land, the people danced and sang well into the hours of darkness, their spirits lifted by the goddess's boundless generosity. Thus continues our story of Hathor, the celestial cow, whose nurturing heart brought forth life and whose gentle touch restored balance to the world. Chapter 3. The Temple's Echo. In the wake of Hathor's benevolent visitation, the land of Egypt basked in abundance. The people's hearts were light, and their gratitude echoed through the cities and along the Nile like a melodious hymn. Yet, it was within the grand temple of Dendera, Hathor's earthly abode, where the most profound tribute to the goddess was to be found. The third chapter of our tale takes place within the hallowed halls of this sacred place, where the echoes of the past mingled with the whispers of the present. The temple, with its vast columns and majestic reliefs, stood as a testament to the love and reverence the Egyptians held for Hathor. On this day, the high priestess Neferet had called upon the most skilled artisans, musicians, and dancers from across the land. They were to create a celebration unlike any before, a festival that would resonate through the ages and reach the ears of the goddess herself. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows upon the temple floor, the artisans worked fervently. They adorned the walls with fresh gold leaf, which glinted in the fading light, and painted vibrant scenes of Hathor's many joys, her dance among the stars, her tender care for the women and children, and her union with the music of the universe. The musicians tuned their sistrums and lyres, the very instruments that Hathor had blessed. Their music was to be the centerpiece of the festival, a symphony that would capture the essence of the goddess's beauty and grace. The dancers, draped in sheer linens that shimmered like the surface of the Nile, practiced their steps, their movements a physical manifestation of the love that flowed from Hathor's being. As night fell and the stars began to twinkle overhead, the temple came alive with the sound of celebration. The air was thick with incense, and the flickering light of torches cast a warm glow on the faces of the gathered crowd. Nefret stood before the statue of Hathor, her eyes closed in silent prayer. She beseeched the goddess to bless their festival and to accept their offerings of music and dance. As the high priestess's voice trailed off, a hush fell over the temple, and for a moment there was a profound stillness. Then, from the depths of the sanctuary, a sound emerged. It was a single pure note that seemed to emanate from the statue itself. The note hung in the air, a perfect echo of divine harmony, and then it was joined by another and another until the temple was filled with a celestial chorus. The musicians and dancers, inspired by this divine sign, began their performance. The music swelled, a complex tapestry of sound that seemed to breathe life into the very stones of the temple. The dancers moved with ethereal grace, their bodies telling the story of Hathor's love and compassion. The people were enraptured, their spirits lifted by the beauty of the spectacle before them. They felt the presence of the goddess in every note, in every step, and in the very air they breathed. The temple, a conduit for their devotion, resonated with the joy and love of all who were present. As the festival reached its zenith, a gentle wind stirred within the temple, carrying with it the scent of lotus and myrrh. It was as if Hathor herself was moving among her people, her touch as light as a feather, her breath a whisper of divine love. The celebration continued into the early hours of the morning, the temple's echoes a testament to the enduring bond between the goddess and her children. And when at last the revelers departed, the temple still hummed with the remnants of their adoration, a sacred vibration that would linger for days to come. Thus continues our story of Hathor, the temple's echo, whose spirit resonated within the hearts of her people and whose presence was an everlasting source of inspiration and wonder. In the soft embrace of twilight, when the sun's fiery chariot dipped below the horizon and the sky donned its cloak of dusky purples and deep blues, the land of Egypt whispered the closing verses of an ageless hymn. It was a time of change, a time when the eternal dance of the gods slowed, and the whispers of mortals grew in strength and number. Hathor, the goddess of infinite love and beauty, felt the shift in the hearts of the people. They had begun to look beyond the heavens, seeking answers in the sands beneath their feet and the rhythm of their own beating hearts. Yet, the goddess did not despair, for she knew that love does not fade, beauty does not wither, and music does not cease. They merely transform. On this night, Hathor bestowed upon Egypt a final resplendent gift. She poured her essence into the very fabric of the world, into the blooming lotus and the flowing Nile, into the laughter of children and the embrace of lovers. Her music echoed not just in the sistrums and lyres, but in the heartbeat of the world itself. And as the stars emerged, one by one, to bear witness to this twilight of the gods, Hathor ascended, her form dissolving into a cascade of celestial light. She became one with the cosmos, her spirit a guiding luminescence for all who sought the beauty in life, the harmony in existence, and the love that binds the universe together. In the silence that followed, the people of Egypt knew that though the age of gods might pass, the gifts of Hathor would forever resonate in the world around them, in the simple, profound moments of living. And in that understanding, they found peace. For they were the children of Hathor, and her legacy would endure as long as love itself dared to dance in the hearts of humankind.